My name is Hardip Mann and I'm the Senior Sustainability Advisor at BAM Construct UK. And at BAM we actually build buildings, mainly sort of public commercial buildings. And what we do is we get involved BREEAM, these days planning conditions, obviously client driven. So every day I often get a phone call, saying to designers want to know, can I do a sensibility check on a pre-assessment that's been done elsewhere, or can I do a pre-assessment on BREEAM? Because these days, you've got to take BREEAM seriously, especially where the clients said we're an excellent or outstanding. So it's managing the client's expectations and also making sure we actually implement it. So obviously it could be design team meetings, it could be actually doing BREEAM assessments itself, and just raising the awareness of sustainability amongst BAM and also to external clients where we have them. How I would actually advise someone, another contractor who hasn't done BREEAM before, would actually to be, first of all, go on the BREEAM website. You just type BREEAM into Google or whatever, and there's a plethora of information there where you can find all about BREEAM. That gives you a background. But ideally, if you're thinking of doing BREEAM assessment, is get a BREEAM assessor on as early as possible. And the first port of call for that would be the Green Book Live. Again, Google Green Book Live. And depending on where you're doing the assessment, you can actually find a whole name of assessors who will be happy, I'm sure, to talk about BREEAM before getting formally introduced to the project. And then obviously if you want to appoint them, that's up to yourselves. That's where I would start. Read about BREEAM first and get on the Green Book Live to get names of people who can help you. The most common element where people fall down and not get, lose credits, I would say, is basically not targeting enough credits. Normally, projects are stripped to the bone when it comes to budgets. So what I'd advise is when I go to design team meetings, early pre-assessment meetings, they're saying, look, please, if you're going for a very good 55%, don't go 55%, go for at least 62%, 63%. I know it costs more to get those additional credits. If we're involved early enough, often it doesn't cost much to get those extra credits. But if you do, it's a good safety buffer, and often you do lose credits, but you don't want to lose the rating, and that's what the important thing is. Make sure that you have the buffer, get good advice, and get the early credits sorted out, so you have enough safety comfort. To help contractors achieve higher BREEAM ratings, I would say number one, get an assessor, a BREEAM specialist involved very early. If you get them involved at stage one, if you can, then you've got the whole plethora of BREEAM credits available to you. The problem is, if you get involved at a later stage, say stage 3 or 4, then I think to get an excellent rating then is much more difficult. You've got a lot of credits being locked out, the early credits you might not be able to achieve, so it becomes much more of a challenge and you may have to spend more money. So try and get an assessor, a BREEAM accredited professional, early as possible, stage 1 ideally, where you can probably struggle less to get a high, excellent or outstanding rating if it's required. My second top tip to make sure you retain and get high ratings from design to post-construction stage would to make sure that credits don't get value engineered out. Often because of budget constraints, you have credits that have been targeted at design stage. You get to post-construction, something else has happened, you lose credits and sometimes you lose ratings. So the thing to do there is make sure there's good communication between the contractor, other members of the design team and also the assessor. You stay on top of the assessment. Sometimes the accredited professional can do that to make sure that the rating and the score is not compromised. The third top tip is to make sure that credits aren't compromised between design and post-construction. At BAM Construct, at design stage, it's the design manager who normally is in charge of BREEAM. What happens at post-construction then, as the building starts getting built, often the design manager goes to work on other jobs, so who's dealing with the BREEAM element of it? It gets sort of diluted. What we have to do is make sure there's a sustainability champion on site. If it's the project manager, make sure the project manager understands BREEAM, make sure the assessor communicates properly with the project manager, any other sustainable champion on site, so make sure that those credits aren't compromised, because a project can be long. It can be a 100-week project, building a typical school, so we need to make sure that the assessor and someone on site make sure that everything that's been said at design stage gets implemented, to make sure that the credits targeted at design stage are actually implemented post-construction. So you can get a post-construction excellence certificate as well as a design stage certificate. A project can be quite long. A typical project could last 100 weeks. Therefore, design changes inevitably do happen. Things that you've said you're going to put in at design stage, for example, low NOx boilers, they sometimes don't get implemented. But what happens, who is actually taking the responsibility to say, okay, we're putting in different boilers, that's fine, but make sure that we're still getting the low NOx 3 credits, for example, that we specified at design stage. Someone needs to be on site, there needs to be good communication, there needs to be a sustainable champion, the assessor needs to get involved, or the AP, to make sure that if there are design changes, they're run by the assessor first. And that's very important, otherwise you lose those credits and there's no coming back.